I start my arguments in 3 to 1. The motion today says that in post-conflict state, history textbooks should focus on bottom-up historiography instead of top-down historiography. Let me start with a simple question. When a country has just come out of civil war or just gained independence from colonialism or just removed a dictator, what does that country need most? Does it need a complicated history book that tries to give equal voice to every single person? Or does it need a clear and simple story that tells its people, we belong to one nation and we have survived the conflict, so now we must walk forward as one? The proposition team says we need bottom-up history. They want textbook to focus on ordinary people and small groups and daily life. I understand why this sounds nice and fair, but here's the problem. A post-conflict country isn't like just ordinary country. It is fragile, and the people in it are afraid and traumatized. The government has no trust, and the fastest way to start another war is to give everyone a different version of the past. That is exactly what bottom-up history does. It gives you many different stories instead of one clear story. And when you have many different stories, you get many different fights. So today, I will do 2 things. The first one, answer the main points that the proposition has made. And the second one, give 3 reasons why the top one history is the better choice for these fragile countries. So, the first one is on relatability and unity. The proposition said that the top-down history is hard to relate to because it focuses on elites. They said ordinary people look at a leader who lives in a castle and feel nothing. They feel no pride and connection with them. But think about it. Let me give you an example. In India, Mahatma Gandhi was a British trained lawyer from a privileged family, but millions of poor farmers saw him as a leader. In Indonesia, Sukarno was an ordinary peasant, but he became the face of Indonesia independence. In America, George Washington was a rich landowner, but soldiers still fought under his name. Why? Because people don't need to see themselves in leader. They need to see their nation in that leader. In post-conflict state, people are exhausted, traumatized, and divided. They need a simple, clear, and shared focal point. One leader who signed the peace treaty and one government that restored order. And one story that says we overcame this together. But in the other side, bottom up, by contrast, offers hundreds of ordinary people that isn't unifying and confusing. When everyone's story is equally important, no story becomes the central. In a fractured society, that leads to further division, and it leads to another war. The second point, on validation of ordinary people. The proposition said we have a moral duty to put ordinary soldiers and workers in textbook. They say that we'll heal shame and stop hate. I have 3 problems with that. The first one, top-down textbooks aren't forbidden from mentioning ordinary people. They can, and they should. But the motion says focus on not total exclusion. So, this is not an either-or situation. Second point, putting a soldier's name in textbook really stop hate? I doubt it. Because after a war, shame comes from losing. It comes from seeing your village destroyed. It doesn't come from not being in textbook. And actually, if you start listing everyone ordinary person from both sides, you will also list the people who killed people. Then every family open the book and sees the name of the person who killed their family. It makes things worse, not better. Top-downs avoid that by focusing on leaders. It says the leader made the decision, the war happened, and now we move forward. That is recovery. Third point, who decides which ordinary people get put in the textbook? The government, and in a post-conflict state, the government is usually one side of the war. So they will put their own ordinary fighters in the book and leave out the other side. That isn't validation, it is propaganda. Top-down history is harder to manipulate because leaders are public figures and everyone knows who they are. Third point, on political development. The proposition said bottom-up history will make people smarter and stop populism. They said it delegitimized identity politics. But look at reality. In Colombia, after the peace deal with FARC, the most dangerous violence came from the local, village-level hatred. People remembered who burned whose house. Those grassroots stories caused more fighting. The top-down story, actually focusing on the president and the peace agreement, calmed things down because the government has decided the war is over and now we work together. The proposition assumes that after a war, people have the energy and education to understand complex, multidisciplinary history. They don't. They are tired and traumatized. Many kids haven't been to school in years, and if you give them textbook full of sociology, biology, and structural factors, they will close it. They will listen to whoever talks the loudest. Top-down history is clear and simple. It gives people the story they can actually remember and trust. So, now moving to my 3 positive reasons. The first one is legitimacy. Legitimacy, after a war, people don't trust government. How do you fix that? The first one is tell a clear story that teach people that state matters. It makes them willing to pay taxes, follow laws, and support development. But in other side, bottom up teach ordinary people acting alone, change everything, and it creates millennials and more chaos. Moving to my second argument, better political discussion. The proposition worries that the top-down will cause fights over whether a leader was good or bad. But bottom-up causes fights over whose ordinary people suffered more. Those fights actually are worse because it involves family, village, and personal memory. But top-down history gives common framework. And then, moving to my third argument, better politicians. After war, there is power vacuum. Everyone wants to be a leader. And bottom-up history textbook give politicians a weapon. They can say, look, top-down health textbook honors my people and ignores yours. That's an easy way to win votes. Top-down textbook don't give weapon. You can easily take a textbook that says president signed the peace deal. So, in conclusion, bottom-up sounds fair, but in post-conflict state, it brings division and reopen old wounds. And it's traumatized the people. But top-down give clear and unifying story that restores legitimacy, prevent identity politics, and help the nation move forward. So yes, we oppose this motion. Thank you.